Hey YouTube. So if you're new around here, and you just clicked on this video, my name is Doaenel, and I am a Hecarim One Trick, who peaked 472 LP Grandmaster on the NA server. And I recently had this account that had this like super high win rate. So it started in Iron, placed in Iron this season, and it climbed all the way to Diamond with an 85% win rate. Playing jungle Hecarim only, all solo queue. So I wanted to make this video today to kind of like show you guys and detail everything that I did as a jungler to kind of like get this insanely high win rate with KD and everything, right? Because I'll get a lot of people who will come to my stream and they'll tell me like, hey, don't know, I just started playing jungle, or they've been playing jungle for years, but they just don't know how to get out of like lower elos because maybe their teams are bad, maybe they're inconsistent, and they just don't know what to work on. So I'm gonna be going over this like I guess guide to get out of low elo today. So before we start, right, before we get into everything, I just want to show you guys the account first of all. So the account's OPGG right now, just like overall stats, is currently sitting Diamond 4 with an 83% win rate. Pretty much every single game was played Hecarim only on the climb, with a couple games because like recent target bans. And then as for like the actual games themselves, the account did start in Iron. And as you can see, like every game was just a complete stomp, whether it be dropping 19 kills, 20 kills, 30 kills. And the final win streak of the account was actually 45 win, 0 loss until we lost our first game. So as you can see, like we started getting into about like D2 MMR in these games, which is why you're starting to see like more and more losses. And now we hit Diamond on it. So as for things that I did, right? So a lot of junglers kind of have this thing where they'll tell you, okay, well, if you want to get good, you need to focus on like on all these different aspects, right? But I'm gonna skip all that because you guys have heard that thousands and thousands of times, and I'll just tell you, instead of like what these people are telling you to do, what I did. So first things first, what did I do? Well, in all my games, I never bought a control ward. So my reasoning behind this is that if your tracking as a jungler is good enough, most of the time, you don't actually need to have wards to know where the enemy jungler is, right? And if you're constantly paying attention to your minimap, you don't really need wards to know who's roaming and who isn't, right? As long as you're keeping this like constant surveillance on everyone. So that's why I would never buy control wards, because it's like, let's say you're playing a game, right? And then you spend early game maybe, I don't know, like 300 gold on your controllers, right? You get 4 controllers, 300 gold. Well, the thing is now that 300 gold can't be used to getting more items, which since in low elo, there are like so many fights that break up all the time, you're not actually getting your power spikes as fast as you should be getting them. So when I get into higher elos, right, like Grandmaster Challenger, I do. But for any elo below that, I never buy controllers because I just don't see the use in it. I see better use in just like getting more items so I can actually like limit test 1v5s and like all these kind of things. So that was like one of the things I did. Another thing I did was never took drags. So this is like everything you're gonna see, it goes against everything that everyone's been telling you, right? But the reason why I never took drags is because an individual dragon means nothing, right? Like, let's say you get I don't know, ocean, right? One ocean drag. That 2.5% health regen that it's gonna give you really doesn't do too much, does it? So the only times drags are really good is when you're playing for soul, right? But the thing is, if you're playing in lower elos, usually people don't know how to close out, or like usually the enemy team doesn't really know how to close out games, right? And maybe your team might not either. But if you're good at knowing how to do that, right, through like forcing fights and then playing off lanes, playing off heralds, right, stuff like that, you never actually get to the point in game where soul spawns, right? Even if you're getting the first dragon at 5 minutes, like the game should be over by 20 minutes. So you're never going to get to that fourth drag. So going for these dragons doesn't make sense, because what you're essentially doing is you're dedicating all this time for an objective that you're not even going to get like the game winning buff out of, which is soul, and you're messing up like your entire like tempo as a jungler because of it. So that leads into my third point, which is abusing tempo. So for anyone that doesn't know what tempo is, tempo as a jungler is like, let's say you're going in for your top to bot full clear, right? You're playing, I don't know, Kayn or Hecarim, whatever it is, or Lilia. And then you finish the full clear, and now you take the scuttle. If you go for a gank, you're kind of messing up your tempo, because now if you were to reset and path and get your buy and then go straight back towards your top side where your Gromp is respawning, you can do a refill clear, which like keeps your tempo. So tempo is more or less, think of it like a windmill, and it's just like constantly turning. It's something as a jungler where you're constantly having all these things going on that make it so that whatever lead you're getting or advantage you're getting, you're constantly pushing and pushing and pushing until the point where the game is won off of it, right? So that's why what I would do, especially in these elos, is I would just constantly look for full clears, and if I would see opportunities, then I would take them, right? Whether it be kills and stuff like that. So the other point that kind of like builds off of this is knowing when to force fights. So a lot of low elo junglers, right? They'll think to themselves like, okay, the only times we can force fights are either on Dragon, Baron, or just like going mid, right? But what I would do, especially like in these lower level games, is you want to contest literally everything, right? So forcing fight slash contesting is what we could call this. So you always want to like make sure that if the enemy wants something, you're taking it from them. Not just dragons or heralds, right? But even something as simple as like, let's say you see on your main map the red buffs respawning. Well, instead of going for your like top to bot full clear, if you have like a 3-0 lead, then instead decide to invade. And then if you invade, you kill the jungler and you take his buff, and then his team rotates. Well, you're strong enough now that you can just like get another 2 kills, right? Another kill or 2. So it's like this constant contesting as a jungler that you always want to do, because especially in lower ranks, no one knows how to play against aggression, right? Like you'll see a lot in lane. This will happen too. Is that if you're super aggressive, no one knows how to react. They don't know how to like go against that. So if you're playing a jungler and you're just like constantly invading and forcing fights with your team, spam ping for help, right, from your support or your mid or top, whatever it is, and then you're going like for all these plays, then the enemy junglers just completely shut out of the game to the point where they cannot do anything. So that's like one of the big things, which is forcing fights, contesting, right? Um, Another thing that I had done as well on this is taking all the resources. So, the thing is, let's say you're playing with a team, right? The only person you can really ever trust in solo queue is yourself, because you can never control what your team is gonna do, right? Like, let's say you get a Vayne to 10-0, and then at 35 minutes into the game, she decides that she wants to flash in 1v5 and get one shot by a set, right? You had absolutely no control over that, but now you're gonna lose the game for it. So that's why, especially in like lower MMR brackets where you can't trust anyone, you always want to take every single resource possible, whether it be taxing waves, whether it be taking like every blue buff, not giving your blue buff to your 4-0 Anivia, because for all you know she could like get shut down. Whether it be like taking the kills, even kill stealing at one point, like you need to do everything you can to win. Like I've had games on this Disease Mine account where I've legitimately won full game 45s just because I can take all the resources and then know exactly what to do with them that you can win the game, right? So that's another point, which is knowing how to fight. So the thing is, everything I'm saying right now is completely useless if you don't know what you're doing, right? Let's say you're playing, I don't know, a champion like Echo, and you get to 5-0. You just like you didn't buy any control words. You never took the dragons. But you got this monumental CS lead. You're 20 or 30, 40 CS up at 10 minutes on the enemy jungler. You have all these items on them, but then you're gonna go and you're gonna enter in a team fight, and now all of a sudden it's lost, right? Like that's the kind of thing that's gonna make you lose games. So that's why it's like you need to be good enough that you're the one who needs to know how to fight and which fights to take in order to actually close out and win these games. And the way that I got really good at doing that is by only playing one champion. So I don't know what anyone else would say, right? I don't know what Tarzan would say or any of these other like high low players, but with me, what got me really good to the point where Hecarim that I could like literally just go in 1v5 and I know exactly how to play it to win is just by playing so many Hecarim games that eventually I got to that point, right? So obviously if you're going to be first timing Olaf, right, and you're going to be doing all these things I'm saying, and then you're going to end and be like, oh, but Doaenel, I just lost my game. It's clear that that's going to happen. So that's why that builds into my second point, or not second, but like whatever, which is only play. Okay, so a lot of people on my stream, I offer these like OPGG reviews for channel points, right? Where I'll look at their account profile and I'll like have a look at that and tell them what they need to improve on. And the one thing that I'll always notice about the silver to gold players is that they will play 3 different roles, and then they'll have 2 different picks for each role, and they'll think that they're going to climb by doing that, right? But the truth of the matter is that if you're really playing League to climb, right, you should only be playing one role first of all, and then in that one role, only play 1 to 2 champs. That way, you can get to the point of comfortability on these champions that you can literally just go in and win the game for your team single-handedly, right? Because you have the mechanical skill to do so. So, on the account I was playing, this is pretty much like everything that I was doing, right? As a jungler, and it's how I had such like an insane win rate. So yeah, so that's like my guide to low elo, I guess. If you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like. If you guys have any questions, you can either leave them here below or come to my stream and I could like answer them there. But with that being said, if you aren't subbed already, be sure to sub, and I will see you for the next one. Peace.